I wake up every morning with the routine fear that today will be the same as all other days. I have been suffering from candida for the last few months, and it's enough to make me feel like the light at the end of the tunnel will never show up. I look at my partner who's sleeping peacefully and probably had a great night of sleep while I tossed and turned a lot due to the yeast infection. I've tried everything that they have in pharmacies to help get rid of the infection, but without any success. I even went to the doctors and got antibiotics for it, something I never do, but because it was just preventing me from doing much productive work during the day. Anyways, I wake up, go to the washroom, and still see the symptoms of the yeast infection: itchiness, redness, burning sensation, especially when peeing, thick white discharge, and so on. I'm embarrassed to have this because it makes me feel as though I'm dirty or don't take care of my hygiene, but in reality, I'm the cleanest person anyone knows. I start brushing my teeth and notice the white, thick coating on my tongue. When I last went to the dentist, she said this was not something they can scrape clean. The oral thrush has caused me to not interact much with people because there's a bad smell coming out of my mouth. I brush 3 times a day and use the mouthwash after each time I eat to get rid of the smell, and yet it's super persistent. After I brush my teeth, I take a shower to make sure I don't smell like the yeast infection. I pick my clothes so that the materials don't exacerbate my yeast infection. I know it's not good for my candida, but I make a cup of coffee every morning because it's the only way I can stay awake or alert. Sometimes I consume several cups of coffee because the brain fog I experience prevents me from doing any kind of productive or meaningful work. After having my coffee, I think about breakfast. Because of my busy and chaotic morning schedules, I don't ever get the time to make whole foods. I most always opt for a quick bagel with cheese or butter or quick minute oatmeals. Sometimes, when I'm super pressed for time, I'll even grab a granola bar. I know, it's awful because of the sugar content. Because I leave home early, I barely ever have time to make lunch. I'm just so tired in the evenings once I get back home from work that I can barely sit, let alone cook. So once I am at work, I settle down in my desk, where I spend hours sitting. I'll sometimes get the opportunity to get up and walk around or walk to meetings, but that's probably the extent of my being active. Before lunch, I'll have one more cup of coffee because, as mentioned earlier, it's the only thing that keeps me from falling asleep. Due to my brain fog, I have stickies all over my desk to remind me things that need to be done. Sometimes it even feels like I'm high or something, even though I don't dabble with drugs at all. When people stop by my office, they will say it in a funny way that I look tired or unrested. If they only knew how much sleep I get, 0 to none. Once it's lunchtime, because I didn't have time to pack my lunch, I go to the cafeteria or nearest store to get lunch. I don't get much time for lunch, max 30 to 40 minutes, which is not enough for me to go out of my way and find a restaurant with good quality food. So I usually resort to fast foods or cafeteria food, your usual burgers, salad, shawarmas. Sometimes, if I'm not too tired or lazy, I'll walk to the supermarket to get fresh ingredients and just make myself a whole food salad. But today is not that day. I'll go to the cafeteria and most likely grab a plate of hot chicken with potatoes, maybe a small salad with some dressing. The food here is so bland that you need some sort of dressing to help it go down the throat. Because I have been feeling anxious and depressed about my situation, I usually allow myself to have a treat, maybe a cookie or a hot French vanilla. It's the best part of my day that I look forward to. After getting my lunch, I run off to my desk where I quickly chomp down my food without really taking bites or chewing my food properly. Soon after my meal, I take all the medications and supplements that I think I should work for my situation. Medications were mostly prescribed by my doctor, and the supplements are mostly due to me doing the research on the internet. I almost always feel sick after having lunch. The bloating and gassiness creeps in as soon as I feel settled. On top of the yeast infection, I then have to deal with the gassiness and bloating and the constant need to go to the washroom. Some days, if I'm lucky, I won't deal with the constipation, but most days, it feels like it's about to come down hard in the washroom. It's very embarrassing. I hope nobody has ever had to witness that in the washroom stalls. To help with the gassiness and bloating, which are both recurrent situations, I usually have Pepto-Bismol or some other supplement to ease the pain. My afternoons are then spent in constant fear not to fatulate or moan in pain because of the discomfort caused by my stomach issues. This is also where the brain fog hits me severely. Let's just say that around 2 to 3 p.m., I'm pretty useless and resort to my third cup of coffee. If things are not too bad, I'll go for a dark tea to help me stay awake and pretend to work. This is also when I start searching the net furiously for supplements, ways of managing candida, YouTube, Reddit to get any sort of information that I can to see what people are doing and also not feel alone. I always feel like I'm the only person dealing with this in the whole wide world, so it's good to see other people's experiences, testimonials, success stories to feel better. Mostly during the day, I'll avoid seeing or meeting people if I absolutely don't need to. As mentioned earlier, due to the constant itchiness and my bad breath, I'm just too embarrassed to be around people. Also, the fact that I look like a bus ran over me doesn't help. I wouldn't be able to honestly tell anyone I'm dealing with candida. It just sounds shameful, as though it's all my fault and I deserve to have it. Some days, I don't even feel like coming to work. I've considered calling in sick a few times so that I don't have to deal with working while feeling so miserable. The only reason I'm coming to work is to make money so I can pay for my supplements, which hopefully will work and pay off at the end. Around 3, I'm ready to jet out of work before I make any more mistakes. Sit there unproductively in pain discomfort. As soon as I get home, I'm exhausted out of my mind, so I just sit on the couch waiting for my partner to get home. I always fool myself into thinking that once he gets home, we'll cook together and have a nice organic whole food meal. But my poor husband, he's probably had a long day as well. So when he's back, we both just end up ordering food most nights. Because we are on a tight budget and live in the US, it's just hard to find anything other than major food chains. Think McDonald's, Subway, Taco Bell, KFC, so on. I always do my best to order the healthiest option on the menu, but doubt it's actually healthy. On nights that we don't order, we mostly make meals out of canned foods, tuna, beans, rice, etc. This reminds me, I have gained a lot of weight in the past years because of the way that we are eating, but it's just so hard due to our schedules, long day of work, trying to pay bills, and dealing with candida. I just don't feel motivated to cook. Also, I won't lie, I'm not a good cook, so I just give up on cooking anytime things get complicated. I wish there were simpler recipes which are easy to put together and don't require me to spend hours in the kitchen. After dinner, I take another shower so that I can clean my body from the discharge of the yeast infection. To be honest, the bath is where I also feel relaxed without having to worry about other things in life. My night clothes are all 100% cotton so that my infection doesn't flare up or make it hard to sleep at night. I usually use a monostat or something similar at night before bed so that I can feel some relief. Speaking of monostat, one wouldn't believe how much money I have spent so far on an array of products related to my candida. Name it, and I've had that product with no real results to show for it. On Reddit and YouTube, I've also seen people recommend certain oils and whatnot, but I'm afraid to use things that have not been recommended by a doctor. Speaking of doctors, mine doesn't think my recurring yeast infection or oral thrush is anything internal or gut related. He just keeps prescribing me with antibiotics, which has proven not to be of much help. I wished he'd just listen to me and suggest some kind of organic, natural way to deal with candida. I learned about candida on my own by Googling my symptoms. At first, I didn't believe it, but now that I have scoured the internet, I'm certain I have candida. I just wished my doc would do some sort of test or something to confirm it's candida so that I can start treating aggressively. Going back to Reddit or YouTube, I've also read about the different diets or cleanses or protocols that have helped people in getting rid of their candida, but it's also so confusing for me. Are these one-size-fits-all situations? I don't believe in that. Everyone's body's different and their candida is different, so it's hard to believe if I follow these protocols or diets that they would help me, so I just don't bother. Also, even if I did consider them, I doubt I have the time, will, or money to embark on such a journey. I've also read about the candida die-off symptoms, which, to be honest, just scares me to go through. I'm already suffering as it is and can't imagine having to go through such symptoms. I wish someone would just make me feel better by telling me there is a way out of this. I'm tired of dealing with this even though it's only been a few months. I dread thinking this might be my life for the rest of my time here. Frankly, I'm also afraid of failing if I did start a certain cleanse or diet. It would just reaffirm my belief that I deserve this suffering. Anyways, it's time for bed. Due to my yeast infection and the monostat, my partner and I have also not been intimate for a while. I'm grateful my husband understands my situation, but it's been months and I'm afraid he might consider just leaving. This is when the anxiety reels in. What if I never get rid of candida? What if my symptoms get worse? What if I have more symptoms? Oh God, no, I can't live like this. I stay up most nights late thinking about this and feeling anxious. Before I fall asleep, I make a mental note to actually invest in the supplements that I read about today. I saw one that had great reviews. Many real people videos said that it worked for me, even those that have been dealing with it longer than I have. Once I fall asleep, my brain is constantly thinking about Candida. I'm itchy and consider waking up to take some painkillers for the discomfort or maybe even melatonin so I can have a good night's sleep.